What if the secret to achieving this Zen-like mindfulness wasn't actually found in some expensive silent meditation retreat?
Right, like those week-long silent camps.
Exactly. But what if it was actually buried inside a beginner's English textbook? Like right there in a chapter titled Washing the Dishes.
It sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, we usually associate learning a new language with just massive cognitive overload.
Oh, absolutely. It's flashcards and drilling complex grammar rules until your eyes blur. It's this relentless, high-speed accumulation of vocabulary.
Right, trying to memorize everything at once.
Yeah, and your brain just ends up feeling like a highway during rush hour, just gridlock, noise, mental traffic. But the material we're looking at today completely dismantles that highway. Welcome to today's deep dive.
We're so glad you're joining us.
And, if you're noticing that our delivery is a little different today, a bit slower, maybe a bit more deliberate, that is entirely by design. Today we're exploring a document that is fundamentally about the power of slowing down.
We are. We're examining a transcript from an English learning audio program, and it's called The Daily Path.
Such a calm title, honestly.
It is, and the specific installment we have in front of us is titled Our Quiet Daily Routine. The stated mission of this program is incredibly straightforward. It's to teach absolute beginners. We're talking A1 to A2 level learners, just basic English vocabulary.
But the way they execute that mission is, well, it's what makes this so fascinating. Because in the process of teaching someone how to say, I wake up or I wash my plate, this audio program accidentally creates an extraordinary blueprint for cognitive peace.
It really does.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why does stripping language down to short, simple sentences about incredibly mundane tasks actually feel so profoundly relaxing to read?
Well, to really get to the bottom of that, we have to look at the psychological mechanics the guides of this text are employing.
Right.
The hosts of the Daily Path, their names are Laura and Thomas. They set a very specific set of parameters right out of the gate. They use a slow speed, incredibly clear British accent, and their goal is to guide learners through everyday vocabulary using almost exclusively the present simple tense.
Ah, the present simple.
Yes, and they invite you, the listener, to practice shadowing.
And that's when you repeat the phrases out loud, right?
Exactly. It's a pedagogical technique. You repeat the phrases out loud as you hear them, or you can just sit back and listen quietly. They are intentionally engineering an environment that is entirely devoid of rush.
And that engineering, it starts the very second the narrative begins.
Yeah.
We start exactly where Laura and Thomas start the gentle, quiet awakening of a day. But instead of just giving us a list of morning chores, they focus heavily on sensory details. Thomas describes waking up slowly. The blanket feels warm. His body feels relaxed.
Takes a slow breath in.
Yes, he takes a slow breath in and breathes out. He specifically notices the quiet of the house.
Which is a crucial detail, if you think about it. I mean, think about what's missing from that description.
No, right. There's no frantic grabbing of the smartphone to check the news.
Exactly.
There's no spike of cortisol about an impending 9 a.m. meeting.
None of that.
Oh, yeah.
And it continues with these tiny micro-actions. Laura describes placing her feet on the floor and just registering that the floor feels cool.
Just the physical sensation.
Yes. She pulls the curtain aside to reveal a gray and blue sky. Then the routine moves to the bathroom and the kitchen. Splashing water on the face to wake up. Brushing teeth deliberately, without hurrying.
Thomas fills the kettle. Laura puts bread in the toaster. We get the detail of steam rising from hot water and the warm, comforting smell of tea.
It's so vivid.
It is. And I want to look at the structural machinery underneath those scenes, because it strikes me that it's not just the content of the morning routine that feels peaceful, it's the grammatical framing.
Right, going back to the tenses.
Yeah, they are strictly using the present simple tense. I wake up, I take a slow breath, I walk to the window.
What's fascinating here is how that grammatical choice acts as a cognitive filter.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you only use the present simple, you are essentially severing the brain's ability to time travel.
Oh, I love that phrase. Severing the ability to time travel.
Think about it. Our daily internal monologue is rarely in the present simple.
That's true.
We live in the future tense with our anxieties, what will I do if this project fails? Or we live in the past tense with our regrets. I really shouldn't have said that yesterday.
Yeah, we're always bouncing back and forth.
Exactly. But this text eliminates any complex, forward-looking or backward-looking tenses. The grammar itself becomes a tether, anchoring the learner's brain entirely in the current physical moment.
It's like putting your brain into safe mode.
Safe mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a computer is overwhelmed, you reboot it in safe mode, and that disables all the heavy, unnecessary background applications so the core processor can just handle the absolute basics.
That's a great analogy.
By removing the vocabulary of the past and the future, they've disabled our mental background apps. We aren't bogged down by existential dread. We only have the processing power to notice the cool floor or the warm tea.
And that's exactly why domestic tasks, things we usually view as annoying chores, like boiling water or wiping a counter, suddenly become grounding exercises.
They become meditations almost.
They really do. When your vocabulary is restricted to the barest sensory bones, you actually pay closer attention to the texture of your immediate reality.
Which is such a massive paradigm shift. I mean, we usually think having a massive vocabulary gives us a richer life. But maybe sometimes knowing fewer words forces you to see the world more clearly.
Like in the text, when Thomas looks out his window while drinking that tea, he just notices a man walking his dog.
Yeah, Laura notices a neighbor and a bird landing on a fence. That's all. Just pure observation.
Just noticing what is.
But as we move out of the house, I want to pivot a bit, because the deep dive naturally transitions from this internal cognitive quiet to processing external stimuli.
Yeah.
The world gets a little bit bigger.
Yes, the commute.
Right.
Before leaving, Laura checks her phone. She notes there are a few messages, but she explicitly says nothing is urgent and puts the phone down.
A miracle in itself, honestly.
Right. Then they step outside into the cool air. The street is peaceful. They walk at an easy pace. They pass quiet shops where lights are turning on. Laura smells fresh bread and coffee from a small open cafe, which makes her smile.
They eventually reach a small park. The grass looks fresh. A cyclist rides past quietly. People are sitting on benches reading newspapers. A child runs past with a ball while a parent follows closely, laughing softly.
It is wonderfully serene.
It is. But honestly, and I need to push back on this a little bit,
Go ahead. What's bothering you?
it feels like an incredibly artificial, almost sterile lab environment. I mean, real life just isn't this pristine.
You don't think so?
No. A real commute has blaring car horns, crowded pavements, construction noise, someone spilling their coffee on the train. If this audio program is supposed to teach English for the real world, isn't it setting the learner up to fail by pretending the chaos doesn't exist?
I see what you're saying.
It just feels like a forced, idealized version of mindfulness that isn't very practical.
I completely see why you'd look at it that way. But from a pedagogical standpoint, you have to consider cognitive scaffolding.
Cognitive scaffolding.
Yeah. You can't ask a beginner to build a house in the middle of a hurricane. The text actually does acknowledge the noise later on.
Oh, it does?
Yes. Laura mentions walking along the pavement where the street is busier, cars pass more often, and she hears voices and footsteps. The noise exists in their world.
Okay, so they aren't pretending the city is completely silent. But then how does walking at an easy pace magically filter out that chaos for the learner?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. This is a deliberate pedagogical filter.
Right.
The vocabulary is scaling up from internal, isolated words like blanket, kettle, teeth, to external, community-based observations. Things like shops, cyclist, breeze. The creators of this text know that stepping into a new language is inherently stressful.
Oh, absolutely terrifying.
So they intentionally attached this new external vocabulary to universal, relatable sensory triggers that evoke safety. The smell of coffee, the warmth of the sun, the sound of a laughing parent.
So they're actively managing the learner's stress levels.
Exactly. In linguistics, there's this concept that if a learner's anxiety is too high, their brain literally blocks the acquisition of the language. It's called the affective filter.
Wow, literally blocks it.
Yes. So by focusing the vocabulary on the gentle breeze and the laughing parent, the text is subtly teaching the listener not just how to speak English, but what to notice.
That is fascinating.
It trains the mind to seek out the peaceful elements of a busy environment. The noise of the cars is there, but the learner's attention and their vocabulary is focused on the calm.
It's an active choice of attention. It's like they're giving the learner a flashlight and pointing it only at the things that won't overwhelm them.
Exactly.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And speaking of attention, as midday approaches, the narrative moves back indoors. We shift from managing external stimuli to the concept of routine as a rhythmic anchor.
The workday begins. And again, it's defined by deliberate, unhurried actions.
Right.
Laura tidies the living area. She opens a window to let in fresh air and watches the curtains move gently. Then we get the preparation of lunch.
Washing vegetables under cold water?
Yes. The careful, steady sound of the knife as Thomas cuts them, adding oil to a pan and stirring slowly.
And the afternoon follows the exact same pattern, right? Clearing the table, washing dishes with steadily running water, Laura sorting a small box of papers slowly, without hurrying, until they are neat and she feels satisfied.
There's a real satisfaction in it.
There is. And I used to think of routine as a burden, something that kind of trapped you. But the way it's framed here, the routine is a foundation.
Well, if we look closely at the mechanics of these domestic chores, the chopping, the stirring, the washing, we can see a direct neurological parallel to the concept of language learning itself.
Really? How so?
Remember earlier we mentioned the source explicitly encourages learners to practice shadowing, listening to a phrase and repeating it out loud.
Right, creating that neural pathway through repetition.
Exactly. The rhythmic, steady, repetitive nature of wiping a counter or washing a plate perfectly mirrors the patient, repetitive energy required to wire a new language into your brain.
Wow.
You do it daily. You do not rush it. The physical repetition of the chore anchors the cognitive repetition of the vocabulary.
That physical and mental alignment is so potent. But there's a specific moment in this afternoon routine that completely stopped me in my tracks.
Which part?
After the dishes are done, Thomas decides to rest. He sits in a comfortable chair, closes his eyes, and the text explicitly points out, and I'm quoting here, "I do not sleep, I simply rest."
Yes. It's a very subtle but very vital distinction.
It's revolutionary, honestly. Think about it. When was the last time you or I or anyone listening just sat in a chair, closed our eyes, and simply rested?
Probably a long time ago.
Right. We live in a culture that treats resting as a binary. You are either completely unconscious and asleep, or you are consuming entertainment.
That's so true.
We scroll through our phones, we put on a show, we read something. But to just sit and exist for a few minutes, entirely awake but entirely unplugged.
It's incredibly rare.
Yeah.
We rarely allow our default mode network, this the part of the brain that activates when we aren't focused on the outside world, to just process our experiences.
The default mode network.
Yes. And for a language learner, that empty space is actually when the brain consolidates new information. If you immediately jump from studying vocabulary to scrolling social media, you aren't giving the new neural connections time to set.
Yes. By modeling this behavior, Thomas is showing the learner how to mentally digest. And after those few minutes, he opens his eyes, feels refreshed, and the afternoon continues at that same steady pace. They take a second walk as the late afternoon shadows stretch across the ground. They watch a bird land and fly away.
They watch leaves falling softly from a tree.
It's the ultimate expression of finding deep satisfaction in simple order and observation.
Which naturally prepares both the characters and the learner for the final transition of the day.
The wind down.
The wind down. The shifting light is noted again as evening approaches. Long shadows stretch across the street. Thomas turns on a small lamp, filling the room with this warm, comfortable light.
And the evening routine mirrors the earlier ones, just with a much softer energy.
Laura washes vegetables carefully. There's a soft sizzle on the cooker. She sets the table with a plate, a fork, and a water glass. Outside, the street feels calm. People are walking home, talking quietly.
And after eating, the activities are intentionally low stakes. Watching some light television and briefly checking a phone to reply to a short message from a friend. Just keeping it very light. And as the sky outside becomes deep blue and the streetlights turn on, Thomas sits in a chair and reads a book slowly. The final preparations for bed are almost hypnotic to read.
They really are.
Brushing teeth slowly, washing the face with cool water, changing into soft clothes. Thomas sits on the bed, takes one more slow breath in, and breathes out, feeling his body relax.
But then Laura does something that I think is the most profound moment in the entire transcript.
Oh, the notebook.
Yes, she picks up a notebook and she writes exactly one short sentence. Today felt steady and peaceful.
Wow, that single sentence is just a masterstroke of psychological design.
It really is.
So what does this all mean? Why end the day with that specific tiny action?
This raises an important question. It's the ultimate positive reinforcement loop. When adults learn something new, they often stare at a blank page and feel completely overwhelmed by everything they don't know how to say yet.
Right, the gap between what they want to express and what they can express.
Exactly. By writing just one sentence, Laura is removing the friction. She isn't grading herself. She isn't writing a complex 3-page essay about her feelings. She is just verifying the experience using the exact simple vocabulary she has mastered.
It's brilliant.
It distills the entire A1 to A2 learning philosophy into one manageable, victorious micro-action.
It's the psychology of small wins. She's proving to the learner and to herself, really, that you don't need a massive vocabulary to capture the essence of a good day.
And that philosophy of grace extends into the closing message of the program. The hosts, Laura and Thomas, drop the narrative for a moment and speak directly to the listener.
And what they say is deeply moving. They openly acknowledge that practicing this kind of slow listening is not easy.
They literally say learning takes energy. They don't pretend it's effortless.
Right, they validate the struggle.
They do, but then they offer this incredible encouragement. They say, you do not need to be perfect. You only need to continue. Go at your own pace.
Go at your own pace.
This raises an important question for all of us, regardless of what skill we are trying to master in our lives.
Yeah.
How often do we afford ourselves this much grace? As adults, we demand instant mastery.
Oh, absolutely. We want to be fluent in a month. We want the promotion in a year.
We treat the learning process like something we have to aggressively conquer, rather than something we just have to inhabit.
That's a great way to put it. We don't inhabit it. But they are saying, just show up. This practice is for you, they tell the listener. Go one step at a time.
It really brings us full circle, doesn't it?
It really does. We started this deep dive thinking we were analyzing the mechanics of how to teach A1 and A2 English vocabulary. But by looking closely at the daily path, we actually uncovered this beautiful accidental blueprint for living a more mindful existence.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that advice to go at your own pace, to not demand perfection, to focus on the present simple, it applies to so much more than just language acquisition.
It's universal.
It's a vital, urgent reminder for anyone who feels overwhelmed by the sheer velocity of our modern world. Sometimes success isn't about accumulating more data or moving faster. Sometimes success is just about paying attention to the water running steadily over the dishes.
It's about choosing to hear the wind in the park instead of the traffic on the street.
Yes.
It's about intentionally shutting down those mental background apps, stripping away the noise of that crowded mental highway, and just focusing entirely on your next simple action.
Exactly. It's about finding the profound within the mundane.
Well said. So, as we wrap up today's deliberate, unhurried deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, quiet thought to ponder. Imagine yourself tonight, sitting on the edge of your bed after all the noise of the day has faded.
Just taking a breath.
If you were to open a notebook and write just one short, simple sentence in the present tense to describe your day without using any complex grammar, without any rushing thoughts of what you have to do tomorrow, and without any judgments about what happened yesterday, what would that sentence be?
That's a powerful question.
And if you stripped your day down to its simplest, most basic verbs, would it change how you feel about the life you're living right now?
Something to really think about.
Thank you for slowing down with us today. Take care and remember to go at your own pace.